The dead planet had no name. It existed at the edge of the galaxy, where stars grew thin and darkness swallowed everything. Captain Day Kwan stood on its gray surface, watching his crew set up scanning equipment. The wind here carried dust that had been settling for millions of years. "Captain, you should see this." Dr. Hana Rin's voice crackled through his helmet speakers. Day walked toward the structure they had spotted from orbit. It rose from the ground like a broken tooth, made of material that their scanners could not identify. Hana stood at the entrance, her helmet lights cutting through the darkness inside. "What did you find?" Day asked. "Writing. But it's wrong." Hana pointed at the walls. Strange symbols covered every surface, glowing faintly with their own light. "My translator can't read it. Actually, it won't even try. The device just shuts down when I point it at these marks." Lieutenant Tae Bong joined them, his heavy boots crunching on the ancient floor. "How old is this place?" Hana ran her scanner along the wall. The device beeped, showed numbers, then beeped again in confusion. "At least 3 billion years, maybe older. This structure existed before most of the species in the Galactic Council even evolved." Day felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold air. Humanity had joined the Council 200 years ago. They were the newest members, often ignored or dismissed by older species. The Velcrans had existed for 50 million years, the Kresh for 20 million. But this place made all of them look young. "Can you copy the symbols?" Day asked. "Already doing it." Hana moved deeper into the structure, her equipment recording everything. "Captain, there's something else. These coordinates here repeated over and over." She pointed to a section of wall where symbols formed clear patterns. "They match Earth's location." Tay stepped forward. "That's impossible. Earth wasn't significant to anyone 3 billion years ago. Humans didn't even exist." "I know what I'm reading," Hana said quietly, "and there's a phrase that keeps appearing. I can't translate it, but phonetically it sounds like Terrasol." The word hung in the air. Simple, ancient, wrong. Day made his decision. "Pack everything. Take samples of the walls if you can. We're bringing this back to Earth." They worked for 6 hours, carefully documenting every symbol and every surface. As they prepared to leave, Hana placed her hand on one particularly large symbol near the entrance. It was circular, with patterns that reminded her of solar systems. The symbol grew warm under her palm. Then it began to pulse with light. "Hana, step back!" Day shouted. But it was too late. The light spread across all the walls, racing through every symbol. The structure hummed with energy it should not have possessed after so long. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped. The light faded. The humming died. "What just happened?" Tay whispered. "I don't know," Hana admitted, "but I think we just activated something." Far across the galaxy, in the heart of Velcran space, alarms began to sound for the first time in 2 million years. 3 weeks later, back on Earth, Hana worked in her laboratory beneath the surface. The samples they had brought back covered her workstation. She had been trying to translate the symbols for days with no success. Every translation program failed. Every linguistic model crashed. "Dr. Rin?" Her assistant poked his head through the door. "Ambassador Sora is here to see you." Ambassador Sora Gill entered the lab with the tired expression of someone who had been fighting bureaucracy all day. She was Earth's voice at the Galactic Council, a position that often meant being ignored. "I heard about your discovery," Sora said. "Is it true? Writing older than the Velcrans?" "Much older." Hana showed her the recordings. "And it references Earth specifically. I don't understand why." Sora studied the symbols. She had learned 12 alien languages during her time as ambassador, but these were different. They seemed to shift when she wasn't looking directly at them. "The council meets tomorrow," Sora said. Earth is petitioning for a seat on the Security Council. We've been trying for 50 years. They'll refuse again, Hana said gently. They always do. I know, but we have to try. Sora touched one of the samples. Maybe this discovery will help. Proof that Earth has ancient significance. Or it might make things worse, Hana warned. The older species don't like surprises. She was right to worry. The next day, at the Galactic Council station orbiting the neutral world of Axis Prime, Sora stood before representatives of 200 species. The chamber was enormous, with seats rising in circles like an ancient amphitheater. Earth's position was near the back, where junior members sat. We submit our petition for Security Council membership, Sora began. Earth has contributed to galactic peace, trade, and scientific advancement. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Not cruel laughter, but the kind adults give to children who say silly things. The Kresh ambassador, a being covered in metallic scales, spoke without bothering to stand. Humanity has existed in space for barely 2 centuries. My species had interstellar empires when your world was still covered in primitive life. Petition denied. Sora felt her face grow hot. She wanted to argue, to defend her species, but she knew it would change nothing. Earth was too young, too small, too insignificant. She returned to her quarters feeling defeated. Her communicator blinked with a priority message from Day. Sora, we have a problem, his recorded voice said. After we activated that structure, something changed. Deep space monitoring stations detected a signal. It's spreading across the galaxy, and every elder species is trying to figure out where it came from. Sora's hands went cold. How long until they trace it to us? She didn't have to wait long for the answer. 3 hours later, alarms screamed through the council station. Emergency protocols activated. Security forces sealed all docking bays. The Velcran delegation, usually calm and distant, moved with urgent purpose through the halls. Their leader, Supreme Archon Kelthax, looked like living crystal in humanoid form. He rarely attended council sessions personally. His presence meant something terrible was happening. The emergency session convened within minutes. Every species representative was present, confused and frightened. Kelthax's voice resonated through the chamber like music played on stone. Someone has broken the oldest law. Someone has activated the seal of the forbidden world. Silence fell. Even species that usually whispered among themselves went quiet. All monitoring stations across the galaxy detected the same signal 3 weeks ago. Kelthax continued. It originated from dead space at the galaxy's edge, but the signal itself is a question. It asks, where is the origin point? He turned his crystalline eyes directly towards Sora, and according to our calculations, a human vessel was in that region when the signal began. Every eye in the chamber turned to face the Earth delegation. Sora felt her heart hammering against her ribs. What? Kelthax said slowly. Have you done? Sora stood alone at the center of the council chamber, while 200 species stared at her. She felt small, human, fragile. We discovered a structure, she said, keeping her voice steady. An abandoned building on a dead world. We documented it and took samples. We didn't know it would send any signal. Kelthax moved closer. His crystalline body reflected the chamber lights into rainbow patterns. You did not know, but ignorance does not excuse the breaking of ancient law. What law? Sora demanded. Earth never agreed to any law about exploring dead worlds. We're scientists. We explore. That's what we do. That is precisely the problem, another voice said. This one belonged to the Kresh ambassador. Your species is too young to understand what you stumble into. Like children playing with weapons. Anger flared in Sora's chest. Then maybe someone should have told us about these rules before now. The chamber erupted in heated discussion. Species argued in dozens of languages. Some defended humanity's right to explore. Others demanded Earth be sanctioned immediately. Kelthax raised one crystalline hand. Silence fell instantly. 3 days, he said. You will bring your captain and his crew before this council. You will bring all samples and recordings, and you will tell us everything about what you found. Sora nodded stiffly. She had no choice. Back on her ship, she sent immediate messages to Earth. Today. To anyone who could help her understand what was happening. The response from Day came quickly. We're coming to Axis Prime. Hana insists on presenting her findings personally. But Sora, there's something you should know. The symbols we found, when we tried to analyze them, something strange happened. Every translation device in the lab shut down at the same moment. Not broke, just stopped working, like they refused to translate. Sora felt ice in her stomach. She had seen alien technology do many things, but never refused to work out of what seemed like fear. The 3 days passed slowly. Sora spent them researching ancient galactic history, looking for any mention of forbidden worlds or sealed planets. She found almost nothing. It was as if someone had deliberately erased those records. When Day's ship arrived, she met them at the docking bay. Dai looked tired. Hana carried equipment cases that probably held their samples. Tai walked beside them, alert and ready for trouble. This is bigger than we thought, Day said quietly as they walked through the station corridors. I've been getting messages from Earth. Historical researchers, linguists, even religious groups. Everyone wants to know about the symbols. What have you told them? Sora asked. Nothing yet. But Sora, some of these researchers found something. There are old human legends, stories from before we even reached space. Stories about Earth being called by another name. Terrasol. Hana nodded. That's the word that keeps appearing in the structure. I tried to translate it dozens of ways. Every attempt failed. But when I spoke it out loud, just the phonetic sounds, my assistant collapsed. They stopped walking. Collapsed? Sora repeated. For about 30 seconds he couldn't move or speak. He said later that he felt like something very large was looking at him. Something that noticed him for the first time. Hana's hands shook slightly. Captain, what if this word isn't just a name? What if it's something more? They reached the council chamber. This time, the room was even more crowded. Species that normally sent junior representatives had brought their highest leaders. The air hummed with tension. Kelthax waited at the chamber's center. Around him stood other Velcran elders, their crystal bodies forming a half-circle. Present your findings, Kelthax commanded. Hana set up her equipment. Images of the structure appeared in holographic form above the chamber floor. She walked everyone through the discovery, the symbols, the strange coordinates pointing to Earth. And this symbol here, she said, highlighting the circular pattern, appears more than any other. It seems to be the central focus of the entire structure. Do not speak its meaning, Kelthax warned. Do not attempt to translate it. I already tried, Hana said. I can't translate it, but I can tell you the phonetic sounds. She paused. Should I? Kelthax and the other Velcrons exchanged looks. After a long moment, he nodded. Speak it, but be prepared for what happens. Hana took a deep breath. Terrasol. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Every non-human in the chamber froze. Some collapsed to the floor. Others simply stopped moving, their bodies locked in position. The only ones unaffected were Sora, Day, Tay, and Hana. The humans stared in shock at the chamber full of frozen aliens. What did you do? Day whispered. I just said the word, Hana said, her voice shaking. Just the sounds. Slowly, the aliens began to move again. Kelthax was the first to recover. He looked at Hana with what might have been fear, if crystal beings could feel fear. Only humans remain unaffected, he said quietly. That is significant. The Kresh ambassador pulled himself back into his seat, his scales rattling. What kind of weapon is this? It's not a weapon, Sora protested. We didn't do anything to you. You spoke a word that should not be spoken, Kelthax said. A word from before time, and only your species can speak it without consequence. He turned to address the entire chamber. I will tell you all something my people have kept secret for 50 million years. When my ancestors first achieved space travel, we found ruins. Ancient ruins older than anything we could imagine. Those ruins contained warnings, instructions, laws. His voice grew heavier. The primary law was simple. Do not seek the origin world. Do not speak its true name. Do not disturb what sleeps there. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Clearly, other species had found similar warnings. We obeyed, Kelthax continued. For millions of years we obeyed. We explored the galaxy but avoided certain regions. We found abandoned stations and dead cities all pointing toward one location. A dead zone in space that our sensors could not penetrate. He pointed at the holographic image of Earth's coordinates. That dead zone surrounds your sun, your world, the place you call Earth. Sora felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. That's impossible. Earth is just a planet. We evolved there naturally. Did you? Kelthax asked softly. Or is that simply what you were meant to believe? A Velcran elder stepped forward. This one was older than Kelthax, her crystal body clouded with age. I am Scholar Prince Ara. I have studied the ancient texts for 3 million years. The warnings all say the same thing. The Makers sleep. The Makers must not wake. If the Makers wake, the galaxy will change forever. Who are the Makers? Tay asked. Ara looked at him with something that might have been pity. We always assumed they were the first species, the ones who seeded the galaxy with life. But every text describes them the same way. Soft bodies, strange appendages, voices that could shape reality. She paused. They describe humans. The chamber exploded into chaos. Shouting filled the air in dozens of languages. Some species demanded answers. Others called for Earth to be quarantined immediately. Day stepped forward, his voice cutting through the noise. We don't know anything about being makers or sleeping. We're explorers, scientists. We're just trying to understand the universe like everyone else. Then explain the signal, the Kresh ambassador demanded. Explain why your species can speak the forbidden word. Explain why every ancient ruin points to your world. I can't, Day admitted. But I will find answers. Give me time. Kelthax raised his hand again. The chamber quieted. You have activated something that was meant to stay dormant. Already, monitoring stations across the galaxy detect responses to the signal. Old machines waking. Ancient systems coming online. Something is stirring. Captain, something vast. He moved closer to Day. Find your answers quickly, before the galaxy decides that humanity is too dangerous to exist. Day stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, watching Earth shrink behind them. The Galactic Council had ordered all human ships to return home. They had placed Earth under quarantine. No one in, no one out. Day was breaking that order. Security patrols will detect us soon, Tay said from his station. We'll be labeled criminals. I know, Day replied. But we need answers, and we won't find them sitting on Earth waiting for the galaxy to decide our fate. Hana worked at the navigation console, studying maps of ancient ruins scattered across the galaxy. I've identified 17 sites that match the architectural style of the structure we found. If we're lucky, one of them will tell us more. And if we're unlucky? Tay asked. Then we'll find more questions, Hana said quietly. Back on Axis Prime, Sora faced her own battles. The Council wanted to condemn Earth immediately, but she had found an unexpected ally. Scholar Prince Ara had approached her privately after the emergency session. I do not believe your species is evil, Ara had said. Ignorant, perhaps. Young, certainly. But not evil. I will help you buy time. Now they sat together in Ara's private chambers, surrounded by data crystals containing millions of years of history. Why help us? Sora asked. Your people have everything to lose if humanity really is connected to these makers. Ara's crystal body flickered with colors that Sora had learned meant thoughtfulness. Because I am a scholar, and scholars seek truth. Even when truth is uncomfortable. For 50 million years, my people have told ourselves we are the eldest, the wisest, the first to truly matter. But what if we are wrong? She activated a holographic display. Ancient texts appeared, written in languages so old they predated modern translation systems. I have spent my life studying these fragments, Ara continued. They all tell variations of the same story. Long ago, beings of immense power shaped the galaxy. They created worlds. They planted the seeds of life. They built machines that could manipulate reality itself. Why would they do that? Sora asked. The texts suggest they were lonely. They had achieved everything, could do anything, but had no equals. So they created the potential for equals. They seeded life across the galaxy, and then... Ara paused. Then they vanished. Except the texts don't say vanished. They say slept or forgot or became small. Sora felt a chill. Became small? You mean they became like us? Perhaps. Or perhaps your species descended from them through natural evolution. Either way, if humanity truly is connected to the makers, it explains why the word Terrasol affects all species except humans. It is literally in your genetic code. Meanwhile, Day and his crew reached the first ancient site. This one orbited a red dwarf star in a forgotten system. The structure was larger than the first, a massive ring of the same unidentifiable material. They approached carefully. Hana suited up and took a small team to explore the interior. What they found took her breath away. The ring's inner walls were covered in historical records, not just symbols, but pictures. Stories told in images that transcended language. She saw the rise of civilizations, the birth of stars, the creation of worlds, and at the center of every image the same figures appeared, beings that looked remarkably human. Captain, you need to see this, Hana transmitted. This isn't just a building. It's a library, a record of everything. Day joined her inside. Together they walked through billions of years of history displayed on ancient walls. They saw the makers creating the Velcrans, designing their crystal biology. They saw the birth of the Kresh, their scales engineered for surviving harsh worlds. Every species in the galaxy shown being carefully designed and placed. This is impossible, Day whispered. Evolution doesn't work like this. Unless evolution was guided, Hana said. Look at this section. It shows the makers designing something, a world, blue and green and covered in water. They both stared at the obvious image of Earth. Tay's voice came through their communicators. Captain, we have company. 3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace. They're broadcasting Kresh military codes. Day swore. How long until they reach us? 10 minutes. Maybe less. Hana, grab whatever recordings you can. We need to leave now. They worked frantically, their equipment capturing as much data as possible. But as they prepared to evacuate, Hana noticed something else. A small chamber at the library's center, sealed behind a door covered in warning symbols. Captain, there's more, she said. Something they wanted to keep separate from the rest. We don't have time, Day said. We have to make time. Hana was already working on the door. This could be the key to everything. The door opened. Inside, a single pedestal held what looked like a crystal sphere. As Hana approached, it activated, projecting a holographic figure. The figure was clearly artificial, a preservation of someone long dead, but its form was unmistakably human. "If you are seeing this," the figure said in perfect ancient human language, "then you have found your way home to truth. I am Jin Ho, the last keeper. I remained behind when the others chose to forget." Day and Hana stood frozen, listening to words recorded billions of years ago. "We were gods," Jinho continued. "We shaped galaxies. We created life. We existed as pure energy, unbound by time or death, but we discovered that infinite power brings infinite emptiness. When you can do anything, nothing matters. When you know everything, there are no more questions. When you exist forever, each moment becomes meaningless." The hologram showed images of the makers in their true form, beings of light and energy, beautiful and terrible. "So we made a choice," Jinho said. "We would create a garden. We would fill it with life designed to grow and change and surprise us. And then we would join that life. We would become mortal. We would forget everything and start over as limited, fragile creatures who could feel wonder again." Tears ran down Hana's face. She didn't even realize she was crying. "Earth is not our prison," Jinho continued. "It is our promise, a promise that we would rather be human and mortal and small than be gods who felt nothing. We encoded one law into the fabric of space itself. If any species attempts to destroy another, reality will correct that imbalance, not through violence, but through prevention." The hologram looked directly at them. "You are our children, not because we made you, but because we became you. We evolved alongside you, from the same world, experiencing the same struggles. We are human now, not makers, not gods. Just people trying to understand a universe that is vast and strange and beautiful." The message ended. The crystal went dark. "Captain," Tay's urgent voice broke the silence. "The Kresh ships are firing. We need to go now." They ran. Behind them, explosions rocked the ancient structure. The Kresh weren't trying to capture them. They were trying to destroy the evidence. The horizon's edge escaped by seconds, jumping to hyperspace just as the library exploded. Day sat in his command chair, processing what they had learned. "They're afraid," Hana said quietly. "Every elder species in the galaxy built their identity on being old and powerful. If humanity is connected to the makers, it destroys their entire sense of superiority. So they'll try to destroy us," Tay said, "to erase the evidence." Day made his decision. "Then we need to find proof they can't destroy, proof that exists in every human. Tay, plot a course through the ancient sites, every single one. We're going to map the pattern they form." Over the next weeks, they visited site after site. Each one told parts of the same story. Each one contained records of the makers choosing mortality, and each one was destroyed by Kresh forces shortly after they left. But Tay discovered something crucial. He plotted the locations of every ancient site on a galactic map. They formed a shape, a pattern, like roads all leading to the same destination. "It's a star map," Tay said, "and Earth is at the exact center." "Not just Earth," Hana corrected. She pulled up her recordings. "Look at the measurements. Every site is positioned to mark astronomical phenomena visible from Earth. Supernovas, quasars, gamma-ray bursts, but not visible as they are now, visible as they were billions of years ago." Day understood. They were navigation markers, ways to find Earth no matter how much time passed. "More than that," Hana said excitedly. "They're proof. If we can verify these astronomical positions, we can prove the sites were built billions of years ago by people who thought of Earth as their home." The news spread across the galaxy like fire. Encrypted transmissions, leaked data, whispered conversations in back channels. Humanity was connected to the Makers. Earth was the origin world. The youngest species in the Council was actually the oldest. Some species reacted with wonder, others with fear. But the Kresh Dominion reacted with rage. In the war chambers of Kresh Prime, military leaders gathered around holographic battle maps. Fleet Admiral Vex, his scales black as space itself, addressed the Council. "We cannot allow this," Vex growled. "For 20 million years, the Kresh have been warriors, conquerors. We earned our place through strength, but if humanity are the Makers, everything we built means nothing. We become merely children playing at war." "Then we eliminate the problem," another admiral said. "We destroy Earth before humanity can awaken whatever power sleeps within them." Vex nodded slowly. "Gather the fleet, every ship, every weapon. We will end this threat before it truly begins." The call went out. Across Kresh space, warships mobilized. 10,000 vessels, each capable of destroying planets. The largest military force assembled in 1,000,000 years, all aimed at one small blue world. On Axis Prime, Sora learned of the mobilization through her intelligence contacts. She immediately called for an emergency council session, but the chamber was nearly empty. Most species had recalled their ambassadors, afraid to be associated with humanity when the Kresh arrived. Only Ara remained. The old Velcrin scholar sat in the chamber with Sora, two lonely figures in a room meant for hundreds. "They will not listen," Ara said sadly. "Fear has replaced reason. Even my own people refuse to help. They say it is better to let Earth fall than risk galactic war." "Then I'll defend Earth myself if I have to," Sora said fiercely. "Humanity didn't ask for this legacy. We don't want it. We just want to exist." Ara's crystal body glowed softly. "That speech you gave before, about wanting to be yourselves rather than gods, it moved me. I will send it to every contact I have. Perhaps some will listen." But as Sora's speech spread through the galactic networks, it had an unexpected effect. Some species heard her plea for acceptance. Others heard it as confirmation that humans were different, special, dangerous. The division grew deeper. Small conflicts broke out across the galaxy between species that supported humanity and those that wanted Earth destroyed. The Council, meant to keep peace, fractured into factions. Day received word of the Kresh fleet while exploring the 15th ancient site. This one floated in deep space, a station so old it had watched the birth and death of nearby stars. "Captain, Earth Command is sending urgent messages," Tay reported. "The Kresh are coming. 10,000 ships. They'll reach Earth in 3 days." Day felt his blood go cold. "What's our defense?" 200 ships. Maybe 300 if we recall every vessel in service." The numbers were impossible. Even if every human ship fought perfectly, they would be overwhelmed in minutes. Earth would burn. "Set course for home," Day ordered. "Maximum speed." But Hana grabbed his arm. "Captain, wait. This station, it's different from the others. It's not a library or a memorial. It's a broadcaster." She pulled up her scans. "The entire structure is designed to amplify signals, quantum-level communications that can reach across the galaxy instantly." "What kind of signals?" Day asked. "I think it was used to speak the true name, Terra Sol, the complete version, not just the abbreviated form I spoke before." Hana's hands shook with excitement and fear. "Captain, what if the name isn't just a word? What if it's a command? An activation code written into human DNA?" Tay stepped forward. "You want to speak it? After what happened last time?" "Last time I spoke part of it, and every alien in the room froze. What happens if I speak all of it? What happens if every human hears it at once?" Day stared at the ancient station. This could be their salvation or their doom. If speaking the name awakened some ancient power in humanity, they might survive the Kresh attack, but they might also become the very thing the galaxy feared. We need to know what we're dealing with, Day decided. But we don't broadcast it. Not yet. First, we test it. On ourselves. Hana set up her equipment, carefully analyzing the station's controls. The symbols here were clearer, more instructional. She found what looked like the complete phonetic sequence. "It's long," she said. "Maybe 30 seconds to speak fully. And Captain, I'm seeing warnings here. Cautions about speaking it without preparation." "What kind of preparation?" Tay asked. "I can't tell. The translation is unclear. But the symbol for danger appears multiple times." Day made his decision. "Record it. We'll take the recording to Earth and let our best linguists analyze it. Then we'll decide what to do." They worked quickly, documenting everything. As they prepared to leave, proximity alarms screamed. More Kresh ships had found them. "They're not trying to capture us anymore," Tay reported grimly. "They're trying to kill us." The horizon's edge fled with Kresh warships in pursuit. Energy weapons lit up the darkness of space. Day's crew fought back, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. "Hull breach on Deck 3, someone shouted. "Shields at 15%. They weren't going to make it. Day realized that with cold certainty. The Kresh would destroy them before they reached Earth. All their discoveries, all their evidence, would die with them. "Hana," Dai said quietly, "send everything to Earth. Every recording, every scan, every piece of data. Send it all now." "That will take too much power. We need shields." "Do it," Day commanded. "The information is more important than we are." Hana transmitted everything. Massive data streams shot toward Earth at faster-than-light speeds. The act drained their ship's power reserves. Shields dropped to nothing. The Kresh weapons fire came straight for them. Then space itself seemed to ripple. A massive vessel dropped out of hyperspace directly between the horizon's edge and the Kresh ships. It was like nothing Day had ever seen. Organic-looking, grown rather than built, and clearly ancient beyond measure. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself," Tay transmitted. The response came in that same ancient human language they had heard in Jinho's message. "I am the witness. I am the last automated guardian. The seal has been broken. The signal has been sent. I am here to preserve the seekers of truth." The witness opened fire on the Kresh ships. Its weapons didn't destroy them, but simply pushed them away, forcing them out of the system entirely. "Come aboard," the witness said. "There is much you need to know before Earth faces its trial." Day had no choice. His ship was crippled. The Kresh would return with more forces. He ordered his crew to evacuate to the witness. Inside the ancient vessel, they found something remarkable. It was a living archive, the last complete record of the Maker's civilization. And at its heart was an AI consciousness billions of years old. "Why save us?" Day asked the witness. "Because you seek truth rather than power," the witness replied. Its voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "Because you questioned rather than conquered. Because when faced with godhood, you chose to remain human." "I don't understand," Hana said. "We haven't chosen anything." "Not yet," the witness agreed. "But you will. Soon. When the Kresh arrive at Earth, you will face a choice. Speak the true name and awaken what sleeps in every human. Or refuse, and let your species die as mortals." "What happens if we speak it?" Day demanded. The witness showed them. Holographic images filled the space, showing humans transformed. Not into energy beings or gods, but into something else. People who remembered. People who understood. People who could access the knowledge and wisdom of the Makers without losing their humanity. "The true name doesn't grant power," the witness explained. "It grants memory. Every human will remember the choice your ancestors made. They will understand why the Makers chose to forget, and they will have to decide if that choice still stands." "And the law you mentioned?" Hana asked. "The one preventing species from destroying each other?" "It is written into reality itself. If the Kresh attempt to destroy Earth, the universe will prevent it. But only if Earth speaks its true name. Only if humanity accepts its heritage, not as power over others, but as responsibility for the garden they once planted. The witness sent them toward Earth at speeds that should have been impossible. They arrived hours before the Kresh fleet. Earth appeared in their view screens, beautiful and fragile. 200 human ships formed defensive positions around the planet. Against 10,000 Kresh warships, they looked like toys. "Incoming transmission from Earth Command," Tay said. "They received all our data. Every government, every scientist, everyone knows the truth now." "And?" Day asked. "They're scared, Captain. They don't know if they want to be the heirs of gods." The Kresh fleet dropped out of hyperspace. 10,000 Kresh warships filled the space around Earth like a swarm of metal insects. Their weapons powered up, energy signatures bright enough to be seen from the planet's surface. Every sensor on every human ship screamed warnings. Fleet Admiral Vex's face appeared on all communication channels. His scales reflected the light of Earth behind him. "Humans," he growled. "You have poisoned the galaxy with your lies. You claim to be the makers, the originators of all life. You threaten the natural order. Therefore, the Kresh Dominion has declared you extinct. You have 1 hour to evacuate your planet. After that, we will cleanse it with fire." The transmission ended. 60 minutes. That was all humanity had left. On the bridge of the horizon's edge, Day watched Earth turn slowly below. Somewhere down there was his family, his home, everything humanity had ever built or dreamed. "Captain, Earth Command is requesting you address the planet," Tay said quietly. "Everyone is watching. Everyone is waiting to see what we do." Day opened a channel that would broadcast to every screen, every device, every human in existence. He saw his own face reflected back at him from a dozen monitors. He looked tired, human, small. "My name is Captain Day Kwan," he began. "A few weeks ago, my crew discovered something that changed everything we thought we knew about ourselves. We found proof that billions of years ago, beings of immense power created this galaxy. And we found proof that those beings chose to become human." He paused, gathering his thoughts. The whole species was listening. "The witness, the ancient AI we met, gave us something. The complete true name of Earth, Terra Sol in its full form. It's not just a word. It's a key that unlocks memory. Every human can speak it and remember what we once were. Remember the power we gave up. Remember the choice our ancestors made." On Earth's surface, people gathered in the streets, in their homes, in bunkers deep underground, all watching, all waiting. "The witness told us that if we speak the name, reality itself will protect us. The Kresh won't be able to destroy Earth. We'll survive, but we'll also change. We'll remember being gods, and once you remember that, you can never truly forget it again." Day looked directly into the camera. "So I'm asking everyone, every human, do we speak the name and save ourselves, or do we face extinction as the people we chose to become?" Silence fell across Earth, across human ships and stations, across every human in the galaxy. Then responses started coming, not through official channels, but through personal messages, millions of them, regular people answering the hardest question in history. Hannah read some aloud. "A teacher in Seoul says she votes to speak it. She wants her students to have a future." "A farmer in Argentina says no," Tay added. "He says if we were gods once and chose to be human, then dying human is better than living as gods again." More messages flooded in. The vote was split almost exactly in half. Humanity couldn't decide its own fate. 30 minutes left. Then a new transmission came through. Ambassador Sora, broadcasting from Axis Prime. "Captain Day, this is Sora. I'm here with Scholar Prince Ara and representatives from 16 species. They're demanding the Council intervene, but the Council is paralyzed. However, Ara has discovered something in the ancient texts that I'm sending to you now. The data appeared on Day's screens. Hana read it quickly, her eyes going wide. Captain, this changes everything. The true name isn't just one word. It's a question and an answer. When the makers created it, they built in a choice. Speaking the name doesn't automatically awaken the old power. It asks humanity if they want to remember, and humans have to answer yes or no. So we can speak it without consequences? Tay asked. We can speak it to activate the protection, Hana explained. But we don't have to accept the memory. We can remain as we are. Day understood. The makers had given their descendants a gift: protection without strings, safety without sacrifice. They could save Earth and stay human. He broadcast to the planet again. Everyone, there's more information. We can speak the name and defend ourselves without changing who we are. We don't have to remember being gods. We can just be human and survive. The relief was instant and obvious. Messages of approval flooded in. Yes, they all said. Speak it. Save Earth. Stay human. 15 minutes left. Day prepared to speak the name. Hana had written it out phonetically, a long string of sounds that predated all modern languages. He practiced it once, twice, making sure he could say it correctly. Then he stopped. Something's wrong, he said quietly. What do you mean? Tay asked. The makers chose to become human, to be small and mortal and limited. They gave up everything. Day stared at the name written on his screen. But if they left us an easy way out, a way to have protection without sacrifice, then they didn't really give anything up, did they? Hana started to understand. You think there's a cost we're not seeing? I think the makers wouldn't have made it easy. Because nothing worth having is easy. Day looked at Earth again. The witness said the universe would protect us if we speak the name. But maybe the protection isn't free. Maybe it requires us to understand why we need protecting. 5 minutes left. The Kresh weapons reached full charge. Targeting solutions locked onto every major city on Earth. Billions of lives hung in the balance. Day made his decision. He spoke the name. It took 30 seconds, each syllable falling from his lips like stones into still water. The sound spread outward at the speed of thought, touching every human simultaneously. Soldiers and children, scientists and artists, rich and poor. Every person heard it in the same instant. And then came the choice. Every human felt it, a question whispered directly to their soul. Do you want to remember? Most said no. They wanted to stay as they were, protected but unchanged. But some, a tiny fraction, said yes. Day was one of them. Hana another. Across Earth, thousands answered yes. Memory flooded through them, not just knowledge, but understanding. They remembered the loneliness of infinity, the emptiness of omnipotence, the desperate need for something that mattered, even if that something was pain and death and uncertainty. They remembered choosing to forget, and they remembered why. The Kresh fired. 1,000 weapons unleashed at once, enough energy to boil Earth's oceans and crack its crust. Extinction delivered at the speed of light. The weapons stopped. Not blocked, not deflected. They simply ceased to exist the moment they entered Earth's solar system. Reality itself said no. Admiral Vex stared at his displays in disbelief. Fire again! All weapons! They tried. 10,000 ships unleashing everything they had. Planet-killer missiles, antimatter warheads, weapons that could crack moons. All of them vanished the instant they threatened Earth. Day felt the law written into reality. He understood it now, deep in his recovered memory. The makers hadn't created a shield or a weapon. They had simply made it impossible for the galaxy they loved to destroy itself. Any species that attempted genocide would find the universe refusing to allow it. He opened a channel to the Kresh fleet. Admiral Vex, you can't hurt us. Not because we're powerful, but because the universe itself won't permit it. The makers wrote one law into reality. Extinction is not an option. Then we will find another way, Vex snarled. We will blockade your world, starve you, cut you off from the galaxy. You could try, Day agreed, but I don't think you will. He transmitted something to the Kresh fleet. Data from the ancient sites, historical records showing the creation of every species, including the Kresh. The makers designed you to be warriors, Day continued. Strong, proud, fierce. Because the galaxy needed protectors, not conquerors. You were meant to defend the weak, not destroy them. That's why you exist. That's your purpose. The transmission showed Kresh history from a different angle. Every time they had protected smaller species. Every time they had fought against extinction events. Every time they had been heroes instead of villains. You've been trying so hard to prove you're strong that you forgot why you were made strong in the first place, Day said gently. The makers loved you enough to give you the power to protect. Don't waste that gift on hate. Silence from the Kresh fleet. Minutes passed. Then, slowly, their weapons powered down. Admiral Vex appeared on screen again. His scales had shifted from black to deep green, a color that meant uncertainty. If what you say is true, Vex said slowly, then we have failed our purpose for 20 million years. No, Day corrected. You've just been lost, but you can find your way back. The galaxy still needs protectors. We all do. One by one, the Kresh ships withdrew, not in defeat, but in contemplation. In the days that followed, everything changed. The Galactic Council reconvened with a new purpose. Not to rank species by age or power, but to recognize that they were all part of the same garden, planted by beings who loved them enough to become mortal alongside them. Sora and Ara worked together to establish the concordance of equals. Every species, regardless of age, had equal voice. The Velkrins struggled with their fall from eldest status, but Ara helped her people understand that wisdom didn't come from age alone. Some species never accepted the truth. They retreated into isolation, unable to face their own origins. But most chose to move forward, building something new. Day returned to exploration, but with a different purpose now. He carried within him the memory of being more than human, but he chose daily to remain human anyway, because that was the point. That was always the point. One evening, he stood on Earth's surface with Hana and Tay watching the sunset. His daughter ran past them, chasing fireflies in the growing dark. "Do you regret it?" Tay asked. "Remembering? You could have chosen to forget like most of us." Day watched his daughter laugh. "No, because now I understand what we gave up and why. Power means nothing without limit. Life means nothing without death. Love means nothing if you can't lose it." The makers weren't fools for choosing to become human, Hana added quietly. They were brave, braver than any god has ever been. Far across the galaxy, the last message from the witness played on repeat, waiting for other species to find it. A simple statement in every language. You were not made to serve the makers. You were made to be free. The greatest gift we could give was not existence, but the choice of what to do with that existence. Choose well, choose kindly, choose to matter. And humanity, having heard its true name and understood its true nature, chose to remain exactly what it had become. Small, mortal, limited, human. Because some things are worth keeping, even when you have the power to change them. Earth's name had been spoken. The galaxy had fallen silent. And in that silence, something better than empires began to grow.